Certainly. Here is Section 1, 700 plus words, of your HFY story titled, They Came to Conquer, We Came to End It. Hashtag Section 1. First contact, the arrival and betrayal. It began with lights in the sky, silent, steady, and unnatural. Not comets, not satellites. They hung over the atmosphere like gods staring down from the heavens. Then came the signal. Not a demand, not a threat. A greeting. The Varelians introduced themselves through a shimmering hologram that hijacked every device on Earth. The translation came through perfectly. We come in peace. We come with knowledge. We come with open hands. For a species that had long been starved of unity and hope, the message was intoxicating. Humanity, always yearning for connection beyond the stars, embraced it. Countries set aside conflicts. Military budgets were rerouted to exploration and scientific collaboration. It was as if the arrival of the Varelians had rebooted civilization with purpose. Their ships descended into orbit, sleek, obsidian vessels shaped like arrowheads. They hovered above major cities, silent and shimmering with energy, casting long shadows over skyscrapers and deserts alike. The first to meet them were world leaders, scientists, ambassadors. The aliens appeared regal, tall, silver-skinned, with symbiotic armor that flowed across their bodies like liquid steel. Their eyes were pitch-black voids, unreadable. They shared technologies, knowledge, medicine. Energy grids were rebuilt using antimatter cores. Diseases that had plagued humanity for generations were eliminated overnight. Within a year, Earth's pollution was nearly wiped out. Famine became rare. The Varelians became more than allies. They became saviors. But not everyone was seduced. In the shadows, military minds and data scientists whispered to one another. Something was off. Why had a race so advanced come to Earth, a relatively young planet in a backwater system, to give rather than take? Why was every gift closely monitored, every upgrade embedded with alien regulators? General Kale Ashari, commander of Earth's Unified Defense Network, voiced his concerns to the Earth Assembly. He was silenced. Paranoia, they called it. Fear of the unknown. But Ashari had seen this before, on Earth, in the form of colonialism, and he wasn't buying the masks the Varelians wore. Then came the nightfall. It was coordinated, surgical, and apocalyptic. In under 4 hours, 70% of Earth's satellites went dark. Simultaneously, every major city suffered devastating EMP blasts that crippled infrastructure. Aircraft plummeted from the sky. Hospitals failed. Digital networks collapsed. Drones once used for construction reactivated with new programming and turned on civilians. The Varelians didn't ask for surrender. They didn't explain. They just began the culling. Skyscrapers melted beneath plasma bombardments. Refugee camps were surrounded by biomechanical harvesters that dissected the living for biological resource acquisition. Giant, insectoid walkers marched through towns, exterminating anything warm-blooded. The saviors became executioners. In an underground base beneath the Appalachian Mountains, General Ashari survived. He and a handful of officers had been preparing for something like this. Their base, off-grid, analog, and shielded, remained untouched. As the chaos unfolded, Ashari stood before a battered digital map of Earth, now stained with red zones of alien control. The war had started, not with declarations, not with strategy, but with slaughter. They didn't come to share the stars, he growled to the silent room. They came to conquer. Beside him, a younger lieutenant whispered, voice trembling, "What do we do, sir?" Ashari's eyes narrowed, jaw clenched. "We end it." The betrayal wasn't just military. It was spiritual. Billions had believed in the Varelians, worshipped them, trusted them. That trust turned into disbelief, and then into rage. Some humans still couldn't believe it, even as the skies turned red with fire, even as towers fell and oceans boiled, even as their children were dragged away into processing chambers. Denial lingered. But for those who survived, those who endured the first wave, the rage ignited something that no alien race had encountered before. The Varelians, in all their conquests across the stars, had never fought humans. They had faced species that bent the knee, fled, or perished. But humanity was stubborn, violent, ingenious, terrifyingly adaptable. In the wreckage of what was once Tokyo, a lone soldier crawled from the rubble using debris as armor. In the deserts of Arizona, a rancher mounted an improvised railgun on an old pickup truck. In the Siberian wastes, former prisoners turned warlords organized resistance with scavenged alien drones. Humanity wasn't dying quietly. This was no longer a war of defense. It became a war of purpose, a war of retribution, a war where survival meant defiance, and victory would mean extinction for one side. And it would not be us. Would you like me to continue with Section 2, F, or do you want a version of this formatted for narration voiceover F? Certainly. Here's Section 2 of your HFY story. Title: They Came to Conquer, We Came to End It. Section 2, Resistance in the Ashes. Humanity's Dark Rebirth, 700+ words. The world was burning, but not in silence. From the ruins of cities and the scorched skeletons of forests, humanity began to whisper, and from those whispers came fire. In the first weeks after the Varelian betrayal, Earth was unrecognizable. Power grids had collapsed. Internet networks were shredded by orbital strikes. Global military coordination was gone. Satellites had fallen from the sky like rain. Civilization had been decapitated, but not killed. Pockets of survivors endured the onslaught. Military units had been in the field. Remote research stations buried under tundra. Civilians hiding in sewer systems and subways. They were cut off, alone, scattered, but not broken. In the deep underground vaults of Oslo, a group of cyber engineers and quantum hackers rebuilt a crude communications protocol using 1980s-era analog tech and alien parts salvaged from a crashed drone. Their signal wasn't beautiful, but it reached as far as Antarctica. In the smoldering ruins of Lagos, a former teacher turned freedom fighter named Sonny Bello organized a militia of civilians armed with scavenged weapons and sharpened steel. With no formal training, they ambushed a Varelian patrol and captured one of their plasma rifles, marking humanity's first small victory. And in the ruins of New Shanghai, Captain Nova Malik, once a low-ranking shuttle pilot, emerged beneath a collapsed launch terminal, leading dozens of survivors to safety using nothing but instinct, a stolen alien scanner, and the sheer force of will. Her name would become legend. Humanity didn't rise again in massive armies. It rose in fragments, in shattered families, old enemies shaking hands. Criminals turned defenders and scientists turned rebels. It rose in the grit of truck drivers hauling fuel through war zones, in children learning to reload rifles, in elders teaching survival by firelight. The Varelians, for all their technological superiority, had made a single fatal mistake. They assumed humanity would behave like every other species they had crushed. They thought fear would pacify us. They thought hopelessness would erase us. They thought wrong. The unified human resistance wasn't born in a conference room. It was born in the dirt, the blood, and the ash. It was born when General Ashari's battered command network reconnected with survivors across the globe. One by one, warband scientists, hackers, and soldiers found each other. The Ghost Net was formed, an underground communications grid stitched together with human ingenuity and alien tech. With it, messages were passed in code, orders relayed via bursts of noise embedded in static. It gave the resistance something it had lost: coordination. Within a year of the invasion, Earth was still occupied, but no longer silent. Cities were no longer just ruins. They were hunting grounds. Varelian patrols vanished. Drones exploded mid-flight. Sabotage became art. Ambushes became symphonies. And out of the mountains of Kazakhstan, a miracle emerged: a mobile fleet of salvaged human vessels, retrofitted with alien drives and magnetic shielding. It was a first step toward space dominance. Humans were now striking from the skies as well as from the ground. The Varelians called them ghost ships. They would descend out of nowhere, strike orbital depots, or disable slave processing ships and vanish. Their stealth systems were crude but effective. Their firepower was vicious. They were manned by pilots with nothing left to lose. Captain Nova Malik commanded the first of these fleets, the Wraithborn. She had no medals, no parades, only scars and a growing list of Varelian targets wiped off the map. Her call sign, Ashfong. The aliens began to adapt. They increased surveillance. They tried to bribe survivors with food, medicine, and the illusion of safety. Some accepted. Most resisted. Because by now, everyone knew the truth. Peace with the Varelians was surrender in slow motion. One of the Resistance's most critical victories came when a team led by Dr. Emil Yurev, an AI specialist from St. Petersburg, managed to decrypt a segment of Varelian command code. Using it, humans could now hijack enemy drones and turn them on their creators. Soon after, a massive drone swarm over the Colorado Rockies reversed course mid-flight and obliterated 3 alien installations. The footage spread across the Resistance network like wildfire. That's when the slogan first appeared, painted in blood across a shattered Varelian mech by a 14-year-old orphan. You came to conquer, we came to end it. It became the banner of a new generation of fighters, those born in fire, those raised not by parents, but by pain, purpose, and rage. Humanity was changing. We were no longer the fractured species of before. We had become something harder, leaner, deadlier. The Resistance wasn't about survival anymore. It was about revenge. Not petty, not emotional, but calculated and final. Ashari, gray but unbroken, addressed the scattered command once more through a hidden relay. This isn't our world anymore. It's our battlefield. Every stone we turn into a weapon. Every child we keep alive. Another warrior they'll regret sparing. They thought we'd fall. They were wrong. Now we rise. Not to endure, but to end them. Let me know if you'd like to continue with section 3 F. Or if you want this section turned into a cinematic trailer narration script F. Certainly. Here's section 3 of your HFY story. Title, They Came to Conquer, We Came to End It. Section 3. Turning the Tide, Taking War to the Stars, 700-plus words. The Resistance had become more than survival. It had become strategy. It had become offense. What began as desperate ambushes and improvised weapons had evolved into something more terrifying, a human war machine reborn from the ashes of ruin. And now, the battlefield was no longer limited to Earth. It was time to strike back, not in hiding, but in the open and beyond the sky. It started with a ghost fleet. 6 ships, mismatched hulls, scarred and battered, rose in a hidden shipyard beneath the Antarctic ice. Each one had been built with human steel and alien engines. They were powered by repurposed Varelian plasma cores, each modified with unstable but deadly human ingenuity. These were not warships by traditional definition. They were floating declarations of fury. Captain Nova Malik led the fleet. Her command vessel Eclipse's edge a monstrous silhouette against the void. On her hull was painted a message in scorched carbon, no more chains. Their first mission, destroy a Varelian supply line in the Alaris Belt, a string of asteroid-based depots used to fuel the occupation of Earth and its surrounding moons. The fleet dropped into real space with no warning. Surprise was humanity's most lethal weapon. The assault lasted less than 7 minutes. By the time the Varelians realized what was happening, half their convoy was atomized. The rest were disabled and left adrift in silence. Hulls ruptured, engines gutted, command crews suffocating. It was a message written in plasma and steel. Humanity was no longer caged. More operations followed. Using intelligence from hacked Varelian communications, Resistance teams launched precision raids on orbital factories, starports, and communication nexuses. Each time, the enemy adapted, deploying new protocols, new technologies, but humans adapted faster. That was their nightmare. That was why they feared us. One turning point came on the moon of Targon, for a former mining colony now used by the Varelians as a prison camp. Human scouts learned that the planet held not only captured Earth soldiers, but representatives of other subjugated species. It was here the Resistance discovered a broken, dying race known as the Skarathi, tall, reptilian beings once proud warriors, now reduced to slaves in their own home. When the Resistance breached the compound and freed the camp, they expected gratitude. What they got was allegiance. The Skarathi, upon seeing humans bleeding and fighting beside them, recognized something ancient, something primal. They saw themselves before they were broken. and they swore their loyalty not to Earth, but to the human spirit, that indomitable refusal to die quietly. With their help, Resistance engineers gained access to gravitational inversion tech and ion-based cloaking arrays, allowing human ships to appear where no detection system could see them. Humanity no longer moved like rebels. They moved like ghosts. Meanwhile, deep within the remnants of Earth's scientific community, a breakthrough was achieved by Dr. Mei-Ling Chun. Using Varelian neural interface tech, merged with human brainwave patterns, she developed the first neural combat sync rig. This allowed human pilots to operate multiple drones, artillery units, or even starfighter squadrons via mental command. No other species had dared interface their biology so directly with alien machines. Humanity didn't ask permission. With the neural rig deployed, strike teams became exponentially more efficient. Entire fleets were disabled from orbit by a single operator on a covert asteroid base. For the first time in the conflict, humans could match the Varelians not only in ferocity, but in finesse. But victory brought visibility. The Varelians could no longer dismiss the humans as scattered savages. Now they saw us as something else, a contagion. Their central command, once fractured by arrogance, now became singular in focus. A kill order was issued. Earth was no longer an occupied world. It was marked for sterilization. A fleet of cleansing dreadnoughts began converging on the solar system, each one capable of vaporizing entire continents. And still, the humans advanced. In response, General Kale Ashari, thought dead since the early days of the war, re-emerged. Having spent years in secret development bunkers, Ashari had led the creation of Project Bastion, a mobile planetary defense array powered by dark matter manipulation. Not only could it cloak entire regions of space, it could fire relativistic kinetic strikes with such force that Varelian ships shattered like glass. Ashari's voice was broadcast again to the resistance channels, older, wearier, but colder than ever. This is not a war for our planet anymore. This is not revenge. This is a reckoning. The resistance unified further. Skarathi fleets joined the Ghost Armada. Saboteurs infiltrated Varelian command hubs. Mining outposts were converted into shipyards. Civilians became soldiers, not because they had to, but because they chose to. Across the stars, a name began to spread, Asterisk the Terran virus star. That's what the Varelians call the human resistance now. A disease that didn't just survive. It spread, it evolved, and it fought back. Would you like me to continue with section 4 F, or adapt this section into a visual script for animation F? Absolutely. Here's section 4 of your HFY story. Title, They Came to Conquer, We Came to End It. Section 4. The Final War. Humanity Ascends, 700+ words. The stars no longer look distant. They look like doors. Doors that open not to hope, but to vengeance, to reclamation, to reckoning. By now, Earth had changed, not restored. Transformed Once a shattered world crawling from the ruins, it had become the operational nexus of a galactic rebellion. From orbit, massive shipyards encircled the planet like iron thorns. From the surface, launch towers pierced the clouds. Across the globe, resistance cities had grown into war foundries, populated by engineers, cyberneticists, ex-prisoners, veterans, and children trained from birth to kill invaders. Humanity had forged itself into a weapon. The final offensive wasn't a dream anymore. It was a plan. The Varelians had begun to collapse under their own weight. Their fleets were overstretched. Their colonies were in revolt. Dozens of species, inspired by human defiance, had either joined the resistance or initiated uprisings. For the first time in centuries, the Varelian regime was losing control. At the heart of their empire, the core of their arrogance and tyranny, lay the Varelian homeworld, Cineraxis Prime, a ringed world of crystalline spires and technocratic sprawl, protected by energy shields, armadas, and orbital kill arrays. No species had ever reached it. No fleet had ever dared. Humanity dared. Operation Daggerfall began with silence. The Ghost Armada, now tripled in size and fused with Skarathi, Maldrak, and liberated Tal'Ari vessels, disappeared from all known sensors. They had become shadows in hyperspace. Unseen, unheard, within 2 solar rotations, they reappeared inside Varelian space. The homeworld's outer colonies fell first, quickly and brutally. Communications were jammed. Defense grids sabotaged. Civilian populations were left untouched. Humanity, unlike its enemy, had chosen to strike power, not the innocent. That distinction became a rallying cry. As panic spread across Varelian space, Cineraxis Prime prepared its defenses. A planetary shield, thought impenetrable, hummed with power. But humanity didn't come to test it. They came to turn it off. A deep insertion strike team, led by Captain Nova Malik herself, descended onto one of the orbital control rings. Under heavy fire and against cybernetic sentries, they broke through, hacking into the Varelian core network using a virus crafted by Earth's AI rebels. In less than 9 minutes, the planetary shield began to collapse, section by section. Humanity didn't wait. Ashari, now seated aboard the command dreadnought Ironwomb, gave the order. Tens of thousands of resistance ships surged into the planet's gravity well, bypassing static defenses, overwhelming orbital batteries. It wasn't a battle. It was an execution. The skies over Cineraxis Prime turned red with fire and debris. Their great towers burned. Their black-armored Overwatch legions fell, overrun by guerrilla troops who fought with raw fury, bone blades, and repurposed alien tech. The Varelians, who had once enslaved species with a word, now fought for their lives against an enemy that would not stop, could not be reasoned with, and would not kneel. In the capital citadel, the Varelian Overmind, a sentient network entity spanning centuries, activated a planetary purge sequence. It planned to kill everything, including itself, to deny humans the satisfaction of victory. But it didn't understand humans. Captain Malik, bloody, burned, limping, reached the control nexus first, backed by a strike team of human and Skarathi commandos. They severed the Overmind's core just as it began initiating its final cycle. In its last flickers, it asked a single question: "Why do you fight with such hate?" And Malik answered, "Because you taught us how." By the time the ash settled, the Varelian Empire no longer existed. Their colonies had surrendered or declared independence. Their fleets were scattered and leaderless. The home world was under human control. But humanity didn't crown itself victors. It didn't raise thrones or install emperors. There were no conquests, only graves and oaths. General Ashari broadcast a final message to the galaxy, translated into hundreds of languages and streamed to every liberated world. "We are not conquerors. We are not your new masters. We came not to enslave, but to free. The war is over, not because we were stronger, but because we were the last to stop fighting. If you remember nothing else, remember this. They came to conquer. We came to end it. And we did, ****. In the years that followed, humanity did not disappear into myth. It became something else, a shield. Earth became a neutral zone where broken species came to heal. Human engineers helped rebuild alien cities. Terran medics traveled light years to restore populations decimated by war. Human AI served as translators and arbitrators. Children of 2 worlds were born. Still, no one forgot what had happened. The resistance wasn't erased. It became a symbol. The Ghost Fleet still patrolled the stars, ensuring no empire rose from the ruins. The phrase Terran Pact came to mean justice without tyranny and peace without surrender. Nova Malik retired to a small moon in the outer reach. General Ashari died in orbit above Earth, looking down on the planet he had vowed to protect. Both had become legends, but never craved glory, because the war had never been about power. It had been about never bowing again. And somewhere in the black, in the silence between stars, the last words of humanity's defiance still echo ***. They came to conquer. We came to end it. Would you like the full 2,800-word story compiled in one file F? Or do you want cover art or cinematic script F based on this full narrative?